Lots on the economic front to discuss today with my guest now, the Assistant Professor of Economics at George Washington University, a regular on this program, Professor Stephen Hamilton. Great to see you. I want to start with your piece in the Nine newspapers today on negative gearing. The Prime Minister says it's not part of their plan. Looks like a kite flying exercise from the government. You're saying there's no point, won't make a difference.
Yeah, I mean, he said it's not part of their plan, but also he said changing statutory tax cuts wasn't part of his plan until they were. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure he's exactly ruled it out. Now, I think that the trouble with this right? So I think the trouble with this discussion is that the focus of the public discussion is all about negative gearing. But if I think about the way we tax investments in Australia, it's poor. We don't do it well. And that has nothing to do with negative gearing, right? So I think negative gearing has taken on this role of this kind of bad guy, the kind of poison that's destroying our housing market. But if you're a tax economist or a public finance expert, you think, negative gearing is a perfectly normal part of a tax system. What isn't normal is the fact that we allow property investors to deduct their costs at 47% in the dollar, and then we only charge them for 23.5% when they go and sell the house on the return, right? And that encourages people to invest in housing because it's a tax benefit. That's not negative gearing. That's the capital gains tax concession. So, the point I'm making is we've got a problem. Let's understand the problem, and let's actually design a solution that addresses the problem instead of responds to this kind of scapegoating about the negative gearing in the community.
So not negative gearing. Do you think there is room for capital gains tax change? What do you say to the argument that we're looking at the wrong thing here anyway? It should all be about supply. That's the problem.
Yeah, look, I'm not going to argue that the tax measures around housing aren't a problem. They are a problem. They're not huge. I don't think they're the primary problem. I don't think they're even close, in fact. But we should fix them, right? And they don't just create problems in the housing market, they create problems all over the place. So I think, a government that cared about reform would approach this tax system and they would fix it from the ground up, right? It would be kind of root and branch. Let's actually tax this stuff better, more consistently with our kind of goals. And that's very different to what the public discussion is, which is, let's curb negative gearing or let's change the capital gains tax concession rate. So I would like to see kind of fundamental tax reform to change the way we do this. But as you say, the big problem with housing is supply. I don't know a single economist who disagrees. And unfortunately, like a lot of things, the government doesn't really have a meaningful policy plan to meaningfully increase supply anytime soon.
These are live pictures our viewers can see. Peter Dutton there at the Perth show. We'll go live to the opposition leader when he speaks today, no doubt. One of the issues you'll be talking about is inflation, interest rates more broadly. Were you encouraged by the fall in the underlying rate yesterday? I know the headline rate, people and the governor down, basically saying you've got to look around the headline rate because of the rebates on energy. But the underlying rate fell from 3.8 to 3.4%. Is that encouraging to you?
Some of that, it's complicated, Kieran. It's not just the distinction between underlying and headline. Underlying is actually also affected by the energy rebates. It's just affected less. Ultimately what we're trying to do is we're trying to trim out some of the extreme movements in the basket. But you trim some out. If there's a lot of extreme movements, you're still going to include some of them in there, right? So I think it's still a lot of this kind of reduction in core inflation, shouldn't be kind of interpreted as like a permanent reduction that we can think, the problem has solved itself. I think we still have a long way to go. Certainly, reduction is better than an increase or than something going sideways. But as the RBA itself has said, it expects core inflation to bump right up again next year, right? So, the RBA is not going to be fooled. They're going to look straight through this, and they're going to want to see that they have real confidence that this reduction is persistent and that they know that with rates where they are, that they can expect the inflation rate to come back to target.
Do you think there'll be a rate cut before the election in May? April, let's say it's April, May.
Well, I just bet Stephen Koukoulas a bottle of whiskey that rates won't be cut before the end of the year. So we'll see which of us is right. I'd expect the first cut not before, not before the kind of, certainly not before the new year, and kind of well into the new year. I'd be surprised if it was any time, in the first couple of months of the year. But who knows? I mean, a lot can change between now and then, right? We always need to keep that in mind, right?
Yeah,
The global economy is uncertain. Who knows what happens with China? Who knows what happens with the US election?
True.
We have to wait and see. But I'd say it's a while off yet.
Stephen Hamilton, appreciate it. Thanks. Talk to you soon.
Cheers, Jared.